This is Kenya from Spiritual Vitamin C, the podcast. Truth alert. Living for God is the biggest win. Knowing how? Now that's the question. Story by story, we present and break down God's holy word and give practical tips on how to apply kingdom principles today. So stay tuned. Are you wired for sound? When I say that, are you connected when you're on vacation? Because you're like super like busy all the time, it seems like. And do you like ever shut off your phone or your watch or whatever else you got to just really be present in the moment?
So I have a problem with charging my devices. So yes, inadvertently, perhaps I could be more intentional about that. Because sometimes my phone just doesn't work, and then I'm like, oh my god, just quiet. I think, and I think this is sort of this connection with like how intentional your travel is. Like, as long as if I'm traveling for business or I'm going somewhere, like I tend to feel like everything has to be on. Um, but there are some times when, like, I'm making the decision, I'm going to listen to the whole Ricky Dillard album from here to Napa, and I'm not talking on the phone, right? Because I need this album in the car. Or I'm preaching somewhere, I can't have any distractions because I haven't really landed on like what God is saying and what He wants His people to hear. I think it just depends. That's something that I'm definitely going to be writing on a big sticky. Like, what is turnout time? I've been going to this day spa, and you can't take your phone in there.
Good.
And you have to unplug, and you
take all that stuff off. Take your watch off. Take it off. Yes.
Yeah, like you can take a book. It's just like, and I've gone in there and I've realized, like, first I was thinking like, oh, God really speaks at the spa.
Okay.
Because I was like, that's where God like really talks to me. And then I realized that I was the problem because God can talk to me anywhere. That's where I listen.
Oh, I like
that. And so then I was like, where else can I listen? Like, and I realized I can actually listen at home.
Okay.
And I can listen in my neighborhood. I can listen in the grocery store. And not to just be real churchy and spiritual, but I have been slain in the safe way. Like, whatever the Lord is gonna, wherever He wants to just have it out, like, let's do it right then and there. But I wanna. That's the only thing that keeps me sort of interested in unplugging is knowing that God doesn't want to compete with my stuff.
Do you have a favorite place of all the places you've been? Is there something that stands out? Something special happened there?
I feel a lot of joy in the city of Seattle, Washington.
Okay.
Because there's familiarity and freedom. And sometimes it's hard for those two things to be coexisting, right? Like, because sometimes familiarity will tie you down and you're just like, oh. But I love that something is in the air there. Like, just all the trees, like, something happens there that is freeing. There are things there that definitely constraining, but just the place in general, I really have loved. I want to believe that Hawaii is one of those places too, but I also wonder if I would have gone there at a different economic stage in life, if I would say the same thing. I'm only saying that because I heard an interview with Michelle Obama, and she was talking about how her husband, the president, was from Hawaii, and when they were dating, like, he had invited her, she was in the South Side of Chicago girl, and he had invited her to go home with him for Christmas in Hawaii, and she was saying, like, she just remembered being like, "Where's the sundown?" And
that doesn't exist.
and she was like in this high rise, like with his grandparents, like playing Jenga. So like I know that like Seattle is a place where like I've experienced joy and peace with $1 and with a lot more than that. I wonder about Hawaii. I don't want God to give me nothing and land me in Hawaii. That's not what I'm saying at all. I want to go to Hawaii the same way or better than I went last time.
Mm-hmm.
But the piece that I found was in an infinity pool, and I just don't know. Like I don't know. I don't know if I would have experienced the same amount of peace like if I was, at the Motel 6. I don't know. So I wonder about that.
Oh, you could always go back and do it, and then you could blog about it, and then I'll know.
I'm not gonna do it. I just, I just love water. I went to Mexico one time. Mexico was my first, I guess, international trip. My good friend had a wedding there that I was in, and of course, I was the only one that ventured off away from the place where we were staying
By yourself?
by
That's
myself.
right. You like solo? Okay.
Because I want to. Well, the other thing is I'm 6'4", like 300 pounds. Like things could happen to me, but I could also happen to things.
Okay.
So I wanted to go to Starbucks, and I wanted to see how Starbucks was different, and I was convinced that what I was being offered in the resort was not the same thing, and I did. And they had cornbread. Like at the Starbucks, they had a cherry white mocha. They had things that they don't have in America, and I was so happy that I took that risk. And at that time that I went, fanny packs hadn't come back yet, but they were back there. And so I got like a big Nike fanny pack that people were like, "Where did you get that from?" And everybody had one. So those are my two claims to fame. Like I knew that Starbucks like had more stuff than
the ones here.
Coffee is also something that gives me joy in travel.
Oh, I'm a coffee fan.
Mm-hmm.
Back to Seattle. So I really want to go there one day just to go to the Space Needle.
Okay.
I don't know why I associate Sleepless in Seattle with the Space Needle, because it wasn't even in the movie, but they met at the Empire State Building. But I don't know why I guess because I like the movie Sleepless in Seattle. But someone I know is getting married next year, and so they invited me to go to Seattle, and so I'm gonna go and maybe go to the Space Needle, or if I go sooner, I think I am going sooner. So I want to go to the Space. I want to go.
I'd go sooner, and I'd go because I think sometimes it's like one of those. That's the obligatory travel is like when you're going for something, and then you feel guilty, like that you spend a lot of money and you don't see things. The best kind of trips, the ones that I love, especially when you're going to a wedding, is when there's foresight around. Like we're gonna have a lot of people who are not from here. What would they want to see? My mom lives like 12 steps from the Space Needle.
Oh my goodness!
Since I was 12 years old.
Wow! So she sees it every day.
She sees it every day, and it's so funny when in 1999, I'm in the class of 1999, and I spent New Year's. The world was going to end, like in her little apartment
Right.
in what is called Belltown. I look at the Space Needle and fireworks are going out, and I'm like, okay, sure enough, like something's going to happen. It was in the Prince, we're not at watch night service, but sure enough, something is going to happen, and it's a beautiful place to be. Like, but I think that for some types of travel, like people make the difference too. So I think like you have to be careful who you go with.
Okay.
If you want to have a full experience. So sometimes you got to go places by yourself, and then take other people. I do experience a lot of anxiety when I'm taking other people because I'm like, I want you to see everything. I want you to go all the places that I've
Yes.
gone. I want you to eat all the places that I've eaten. And they're just like, just let me just kind of
Relax.
relax and like, figure it out. Like, so yeah. Seattle's bomb.
Well, I will make it. When you shout out places you go to,
Mm-hmm.
do you ever get any kickback? Like, do you have like partnerships with places? Has anything like that ever come to you?
That's my dream.
Okay.
I have a lot of points and like stuff, that has come up as a result, but I'd love to be a real travel influencer, like someone who like goes places for the experience and then like kind of tells folks what happened, how they experience. I'd love to do that. I think the reason why I haven't done that is because I've had a real job and I sort of developed and affirmed this passion when things were a little bit more mellow or weren't happening. Um, but I'd love to do that. It's something that I'm really focusing on this season is like really like figuring out how I tell a story about traveling and really how I might be able to influence other people to like go places and experience things. I'm also really loyal to a couple of brands. So hopefully one of these days those brands will be like, you know what? You do only fly with us. You do only stay here. So um,
That would be awesome for that to happen.
that would be. And I
Mhm.
for myself, I'd love to I'd love for other people to. Everybody deserves to experience a 5-star hotel. I have a funny story, man. Tell it. Okay. Um, a couple of years ago, I was leading an organization, and we had a conference at this brand new Westin across from Disneyland in Anaheim. And this particular conference is a conference that serves underrepresented students, students of color, students who at community colleges throughout the state of California. And like, it just did my heart so good to see our people like walking around this 5-star hotel, like being authentically themselves, like with the dad robe on and the like the Egyptian cotton towel wrapped around their head because they went to the pool, and I just like for me like I love for everybody to experience that and to know that they belong. Like even if you only experience that luxury like once a year, once in a lifetime or whatever. Because I think that people don't realize how close they are to luxury. And like sometimes it just takes a couple more clicks, or sometimes it just takes a little bit of research, or like really being diligent in your travel. Sometimes it's as simple as like having a travel agent that you trust and just saying, like, I want a luxury experience and I don't want to, like, I'd rather pay the extra $3 or whatever it is to really, be in the zone. I also am a fan of loyalty programs. And I think, one of the things I've done for my friends that I would love to do for other people is like show them how to sign up for the luxury, for the loyalty plans, and like how to gain points, how to use them, how to distribute them. Because sometimes I don't pay anything to fly, and it's just because,
Really?
yeah, like, I might decide to
My goodness.
like. And I think this is an example, right? Like you go somewhere and like you're going with a group. I'm going to St. Louis, and the group is divided. Some people are like, we should get an Airbnb, and like because that's going to save us money. And it's like, yes, it will save us money, but I think we need to think long term. So I'm a Hyatt person and a Marriott person. That's 5 days.
Yes.
Generally, you can grow to that next level in your loyalty tier with 10 days of staying in 1 year. You know, every year that you're going to Spain, that you're going to Memphis.
Yes.
What if you intentionally said, this year, I'm only flying Southwest, I'm only staying at a Marriott brand. And you plan on all your trips, like in that 1 year, you're already getting points, you're growing in tiers, and you're able to see like, oh, okay. But what people do is it's like, oh, okay, well, I looked on some website, you know, trying to save money, and the flight was $3 cheaper, so I went there, but you didn't get any benefits, you didn't get any points, you didn't go to the next level. Like, you just like you saved money, you think. I think the other piece is that when you join the loyalty program, there are less surprises on the other end, right? Like you're more likely to get an upgrade on a room, or you learn the questions to ask. Like you learn, how do I get the free breakfast, or like how do I, get the top floor. So I think I'd love to do that for people too, because I think that like you can change the experience that you have by just paying a little bit more attention, spending a little bit more time, maybe a little teeny bit more money sometimes, and really weighing whether it's worth it. Because at the end of the year, every year, I go to these conferences. I'm going to Seattle for 10 days. My family lives there. I usually go from like the 20th to the 30th. I just can't think of, in my adult life, I do not believe that I've ever paid full price the whole time for a hotel. Because I store the points. Usually the flight is free. Last year, I think I had, of the 10 days that I was there, I think I may have paid for 4 of the days.
Oh my goodness.
And it's no rocket science, it's just loyalty. It's just realizing that, it would cost $40 more, but I'm also going to get 20,000 points from this. Like, so what makes the most sense?
Do you book directly with the hotels?
Mm-hmm.
You do.
If it's advantageous, I'm booking directly with the hotels because I want to make sure that I'm getting all of the benefits. You can't get benefits by booking through third parties in general. So like I'm a platinum member at the Marriott. If I book on hotel.com, I don't get any of my platinum benefits.
You don't get any of those?
Not any of them. What you can do is you can add, once you get to the hotel, you can say, hey, I want to add my loyalty number to my account. And some chains will say, oh, okay, well, we'll upgrade you or give you access to the suite or give you access to the concierge level or what. Some of them might do that. But, sometimes the difference, I remember I had stayed at a hotel and it was like $50 cheaper to book using a third party. So I did that. Okay. And then I got to the hotel and the booking with a third party, I didn't get free breakfast, I didn't get free parking, I didn't get an upgrade. So if I would have paid the $50, I would have had all those things. Like now, if you're staying 3 or 4 or 5 days, that's different. But like one day, like if you think about like, cause you're gonna leave the hotel and find something to eat.
Yes.
Like you're gonna, and that's gonna cost more. You're gonna have to order something out, or you're gonna have to. So I think it's what makes travel valuable, especially if you want to do more of it, is being smart about how you do it. Because I think that like travel planning, like requires you to be thinking about like how you want to travel, where you want to travel, where you want to travel, the experience that you want to have well in advance, right? Like, and there's some things you have to go to, like, and you're starting to look at it like, I know I have to go to Seattle, multiple times. My family's there. There are lots of birthdays. There's Christmas, and so I have my Groupon account set to Seattle because the likelihood that I'm going to use Groupon something or other in Sacramento is very low. But if I see, something from there or in that city, you can change it to where, no matter where you're going, like those things are set up so that people who live in those cities who are not access those things because they want non-tourist attention, right? So it's places that we're like can't wait to go. That if the system thinks you live there, you're getting like 75% off, to go there, which is like cool if you're visiting Napa and you might want to go to a spa there or something like that, and you might want to go on a Tuesday. It's a lot of things to think about to make your trip, better and more exciting, and cheaper.
Where are you going next? Did I ask you that already?
No,
Where are you going next?
I'm going to Seattle, Portland, Chicago.
You're going to Chicago?
This summer, and Las Vegas, and lots of places in between. Those are my June and July trips.
Chicago, Las Vegas,
Yeah,
Seattle.
I'm excited about going to Chicago because I haven't really gone to the Midwest in the way that I want to go to. I also really want to take a fall. I took the best trip of my life. If you ask this and I didn't say this already, I do apologize. I was a young professional. I had just moved to Sacramento from Las Vegas, and I had $800 flight credit actually from going to AIM. Oddly enough, I got stuck somewhere. And my friend, who had just completed law school and was hired by a firm in New York City, her husband was still in law school at like some Ivy League school during the week. So he'd be at that Ivy school during the week, and she'd be like in one of the boroughs during the week. And she was like, "Come down, spend a week here, like do your thing during the week. On the weekends, we'll all the three of us just have a good time." I got that flight. We take whatever, I think she lived in the Bronx or something like that. I take the train into downtown New York City. I just wander around all day, drinking coffee, eating greasy things, shopping, just looking for things. And then when she was done with work, this was like post 9/11, so it was just kind of like,
wow.
And it was like a September. It was like hot and cold. And then it was just so beautiful to go back to the neighborhoods. Like, I think she lived in the Bronx, and like pizza shops and
Wow.
coffee shops and libraries and bookstores and just little hole in the wall restaurants of Indian food and Chinese food. And that was like the best trip that I have ever taken in my life. And I just slept on her floor like for 6 days, and like every day got up and took a shower and like went in there. So I was in my 20s then. So maybe I might have been in my late 20s or early 30s.
Wow.
And I will never forget that trip. And I always said that like I just want to go back to New York in the fall.
Oh.
It was so beautiful. I think it rained like the last day that I was there. And I'll never forget it because I wanted to go like walk around to the little bookstores and coffee shops, and it was raining, and people were just sitting under the people were just living their lives, like on their laptops, like just and I thought I could live here. I always just thought I could live on the East Coast, and so I'm glad I could.
Favorite season to travel?
Fall.
Why?
I love that the sun is out. I love the leaves. I'm an October baby, so I usually do a lot of like pleasure traveling in those months. In the months, I love football, so I love like high school football. I love the brisk air, but the sun is still out. I love being able to go places, and it's just something about like walking a tree-lined street in like a Portland neighborhood in September, like in the air, having uh, your first pumpkin spice latte, like in a
Yes.
walk with all that oxygen and the trees and stuff. I just think that's amazing. Like the pumpkins and the decorations, and to me that's beautiful. And it's so different every place, but it's the same. You can like smell pie and just things.
What's your least favorite season to travel?
Ooh.
Or do you have one?
I think it's hard to say. Like I think heat it can be a challenge. Like heat can be a challenge. Like if there's no water, I think it's harder to be outside wandering in the heat. So I'm gonna go with this. I'm gonna go with the California summer, like Northern California summer
Okay.
in particular. But humidity is the mess. I'm gonna go for summer. I'm gonna go for summer all over the
Summer.
world. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know. For me, I love fall. I think I correlate when I think of fall being my favorite season. I correlate that with being from Arkansas, and in Little Rock. We lived in Little Rock, but my dad's sister, Aunt Pearl, she had like this massive spread down like an hour away. And so I just remember as a child, we would like go down certain streets, and I just remember seeing all the beautiful colors of the leaves.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, just in school, we just had the best times because for fall you had Thanksgiving, and I loved going back down to Aunt Pearl's because all my family, and like there was just such great memories. And when I used to work for the state, fall, the whole entire campus would just be just blanketed with all these amazing leaves. So, and of course, pumpkin spice latte and all that. So yeah, fall's amazing. Oh, and nutmeg and cinnamon, like all of these. I feel like when it comes to creating memories, the more senses we can engage, the greater the chances of that, like going into like long-term memory. And when we think back, like fondly, like, oh yeah, I remember Aunt T, she had, she baked this one cake, or so it's just certain things like, oh yeah, you like to try different foods. You're a foodie.
I could be a better foodie.
Okay.
What's a coffee? E.
You're a coffee.
Yeah, I'm a coffee person.
You're a coffee connoisseur.
I'm a coffee connoisseur. But then I don't know what to do after like a certain time. So like tomorrow I might take an early coffee trip, but like then in the afternoon you can't really drink coffee, and so.
Who says? Oh, so you talking to the wrong one. Like right now, I'm drinking coffee. I told you I need to get up at 5.
Well, I'm gonna have a cup of coffee tonight too because I got some little instant Folger decaf ones. Because I have about like if I see a new creamer in the store, I gotta try it.
So you like creamers?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What's your favorite?
Raspberry white mocha is something that I'm enjoying right now. And I like the sweet creams, like like the Italian sweet cream. I got a couple of those. There's a one called Bridgerton that I like.
Like Bridgerton?
It kind of reminds me of like cereal milk, like Fruity Pebbles cereal milk.
Okay. I love Fruity Pebbles.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of when I was growing up. My grandmother loved condensed milk. That's what she put in her coffee. So
milk. My gosh.
Yeah, it's a problem for me. And then I'm making a pot of greens right now, and I'm looking forward to pouring some of that pet milk over the bread.
So my love for coffee, I often tell people my dad set me up for
Really?
success or failure. So I would like he would have his coffee, and then I was so small he would literally put me on top of the table, like the
Mm.
kitchen table, and then he would give me my own saucer and my own like coffee cup, and literally 4 years old, 3 years old, maybe 4 or 5 years old, literally like I became his coffee. Walk me through travel, through an idea all the way to the execution. What are we doing? You're traveling. You figure out where you're going to go next. Chicago. I mean, how do you organize that?
Okay.
How does that look?
It's so I love big stickies on the wall.
Okay.
So usually I'm navigating points. Like, what am I going to spend points on? What am I going to pay cash for? Do I need a rental car? How do I eliminate that? So my most recent trip, St. Louis, determining like proximity to the places where I need to be versus the places I want to be. Do I need a rental car? How much do I want to spend on a hotel? Um, I'm a I'm a little bit snobby when it comes to hotels. Like, I can't be like, there has to be a shower, there can be a bathtub. Like, I got a lot of, so I'm reviewing a lot of photos. But I generally start with the hotel, then the flight, because I hate like not knowing where I'm going to stay or like having to make adjustments afterwards. So I'm sort of charting out like what I'm spending, where I'm staying, and how I'm getting there.
Okay.
And then I start early with the clothes. Like, I want to make sure that usually I'm starting with socks and shoes, then I'm working my way up. And I like to go to like a hybrid of stores. Like, I'm not. Some people are like, "Oh, yeah," and I don't believe in putting all your stuff in the suitcase until you need. So that but I love the idea of like making room for things that you might get,
Mm-hmm.
things that are unique to the places where you're going. Um, I think the the other piece is really researching the hotel where you're staying to see what kind of amenities are available there, so you know how to pack, like what to have with you, what you're not going to need at all because of the specific facility where you're staying. Um, and then, I always try to determine, like, at what point in this experience am I going to feel like I'm spending more money on something that is necessary? Usually, like traveling, Uber, and rental cars and stuff. So, like, that's usually easy to weigh, right? But you're looking at what is the proximity from the airport to the hotel,
Okay.
right? It's just if our average is $60 a day, if it's $40 rent a car, it might be more ideal unless you find out that it costs $40 to park the car, right? So in those situations, you're looking to see, does the hotel where I'm staying at have the ability to rent a car from that space so that I can pick up and drop off there and only use it on the days that I need it. So just sort of like those little nuances I'm generally planning, um, and just what I want to wear, how to show up. I'm not the best person when it comes to like the preparation for travel because I'm very anxious, right? Like, if it's the people. I'm also like, when I go to Seattle for the holidays, I'm usually like developing an itinerary in a Google Sheet and sharing it with my siblings. Like, this is what time I'm getting there. This is what days I have a rental car. This is where I'm going to be staying at the hotel. Like, those are things that are important to me if I'm not going to be with family, because it also reduces the anxiety on their part. Um, but I also just like disappearing. I have a favorite hotel in just about every city. I love on my blog. I can't remember which one. I have a lot of them. but I had started like charting, like if you're gonna go to Palo Alto, here's the hotel you should stay at, and here's the places that you should go to visit. So I love doing that kind of thing and making recommendations to people. And a lot of that is built out of just my own experience. So I'm like 40% planning, 60% exploring.
Wow. For the person,
ask yourself why. What makes you reluctant to travel? Like, what are you afraid to? What are you holding on to that makes it difficult for you to do? If it's financial, plan through that. If it's responsibility, plan through that. If it is just not knowing where to start, like think about what inspires you. If you love Michael Jackson, go where his show is. You know, if you love concerts, like that's one of the goals I have for the end of the year. Like, cause it's really hard for me to travel somewhere new. Like, and I'm just on this journey of like releasing myself. Like, all that I mentioned, I'm gonna go to Benicia. I'm gonna go to these places once a year. Like, they're very comfortable with me, and sometimes it's hard to remember. Hey, you learned about those places because you took a risk and went there one time before you even knew that they existed. So I think it's really important to think about what you like. I like coffee. So if I hear about a coffee shop in Santa Rosa, when I came to Santa Rosa, I did a whole night a whole 2-day trip to Santa Rosa one time.
No, really?
Yeah. And there was a cupcake place that inspired me because I was on this cupcake thing for a while because everybody was. It was kind of like the fancy cupcake thing, and there was a place, they opened up a new AC hotel in downtown Santa Rosa, and there was a cupcake place. That was like 3 or 4 years ago, and I thought the idea of like European concepts and hotels in America was interesting, so I wanted to stay there. And I heard there was a cupcake place, and there was a breakfast spot. Also, I'm chasing breakfast. I love like good, weird breakfast locations. So that trip, I came there specifically for those 3 things. And there was also a hotel in Healdsburg that I wanted to see. And I was like, I got to do all these 4 things like in one trip. And I did. And it was like
amazing.
It was amazing. Well, it wasn't my AC. The shower was like this big because it was like European style. But like my point is that if you're reluctant about traveling, but you're passionate about other things, build your travel around the things that you're passionate about.
Okay.
Like whatever it is that you want to see, and you can start local. Like getting in the car. The thing too is finding somebody that you can do that thing with or that has that same passion, like, and whether it's a parent or a friend or a cousin or a significant other, or somebody from church, or just that person being like, you know what, there's a new restaurant in Sacramento. We should go there on this day. Great. You go there, you jump in the car. Like my friends know, like I have a friend who was doing some work in your part of California, and they were like, we're going to be at your house in 10 minutes. And because there's a restaurant that we want to expose you to. Great. I'm that person too. I'm like, listen, I love shoes, and I know where all the Nike factories are in Northern California.
Wow.
And so I know how to, like, I do this thing, it's my last thing. Like, I did this thing during, like, when we first stopped having night service at my church. I would bring my clothes, I would have church, I bring my clothes, I change my clothes. I drive from Sacramento to Livermore to Walnut Creek to Benicia to Napa to Sacramento. That's a big, big, big circle. And I do that, like, I leave probably Sacramento around 1, and I get back to Sacramento about 9. But I went to every mall, every place that I needed to go to. And I think it was just about, at that time, it was about shoes and shopping. But I learned, you know, a couple of things. And then I have friends who, and this is very helpful too, I have a lot of friends that live in Redwood City or live in Palo Alto, and I live in Sacramento. Well, we shouldn't have to only hang out because you come to Sacramento or I come to Redwood City. What's in the between? Well, Livermore is in between. So let's meet in downtown Livermore. We can go to a restaurant that we're familiar with and then walk around afterwards. And then we're like, oh my gosh, it's a new place. I didn't know they had this. So I think it's just, if you have anxiety, it doesn't necessarily have to, you don't have to start big. You don't got to go to Europe on your first trip. you can take that mindset, and I want you, Miss Kenya, I want you to go to Yountville.
Yountville. I can do it. Look, I can feel myself saying, I don't think so, but I'm going to say I will go.
But you know what, though? And this might just be because some of these places are spectacular around the holidays.
Really?
It's just beautiful. It's not a lot of city, not a lot of space. You can walk through it in like 20 minutes.
Yountville, where is that? What is that near?
It's right outside of Napa.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They have a RL. They have a steakhouse that I love. I actually have a preacher friend, a pastor friend, and he would inspire me because I would always see him checking into all these weird places. That's really how I found out about Benicia, because he would check into this little clam chowder spot. And I had a season where I was like chasing clam chowder. This is a theme. Like, because Washington people love seafood and we love clam chowder. And so, like, I was chasing clam chowder and I wanted to know who had the best clam chowder in Northern California. And there's a place in downtown Benicia that had clam chowder. So I ended up, like, going there because I seen that he had checked in there.
Yes.
Like, there was one time when he loved it in downtown Benicia. There's a Thai restaurant that I would see him checking into. So I decided I was going to go there. And then we both were there at the same time, which is a long happened once, but which is cool. I was in the book, so I had it with me. So.
Wow. The Travel Beau and I continue to talk about all things travel, but you have received some great information. Where to start traveling, how to gain points, great coffee spots, great places to visit, so many other things. If you would like to get in touch with the Travel Beau, Dominique Beaumonte, please know all his information is linked in the show notes. I pray that you enjoyed both part 1 and part 2 of traveling with the Travel Beau. If you enjoyed this episode of Spiritual Vitamin C, please subscribe. I would also love it if you would rate it and leave a review. I look forward to seeing you next time. And remember, life needs a dose of Christ.